Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading room. Just a moment here, we'll get the screen share going on. All right, so the market with a big sell-off just pre-market here. Just a moment here, I'm trying to multitask. Okay. Wow, and a lot more volatility in the market as well. Just taking a look here at yesterday's session. Sorry, that's the overnight. The overnight, very busy. Yesterday's session, a pretty big sell-off. The market hitting a little bit of a sideways drift into the close, but not that much. A little bit of a bounce through the Asian session, and then the overnight session pushed the market lower and rallied a little bit, and then just about a half an hour before the open, we saw a sell-off again, and now a little bit of a bounce higher. So really kind of a funny start to the day, but I think the market is definitely got a bearish flavor here today. Even though we're seeing a little bit of a rally out of the gate. I will be looking for an opportunity to sell, and I'll probably take the first reasonable signal that comes my way. The Falcon here trying to produce a trend change signal. Okay, they're not ready. And the Raptor actually producing a couple of bullish signals. Well, no shortage of activity right now, that's for sure. Oh, Keith, killing it early here. Keith says, all right, 795, and I'm done. Well done, Keith. Did you try some of the pre-market activity, Keith, or is that just from the open? Either way, it's very good. Yeah, Keith says a little bit of both. Yeah, if you're up for it, a lot of times the market makes some decent moves going into the North American Open. Wow, and I have to admit, this move much stronger than I anticipated. I thought the bears, after yesterday's session, I thought the sellers were going to be all over the stock market this morning. Mark's comment here. Wow, nice work again, Keith. Mark also says the market's moving so fast that my NinjaTrader is real sluggish at the moment printing the data. That's kind of odd. All right. We've got a little bit of a test of the extreme here going on. I'm not really keen on shorting this, although I fully expect a sell signal to develop sometime. I don't want to get too bearish here. The market's obviously in an uptrend right now. I may need to adjust my earlier perspective. Sometimes when the market is moving this quickly, I find it actually quite difficult to trade it. Wow. Well, they've definitely begun reversing the overnight trend. No question about that. Or they've probably fully reversed the overnight trend by now. Mark, you may need to check with your broker. Mark says my screens were all freezing and acting jittery, couldn't even place a trade properly. Very strange. I wonder if it was the continuum data feed. It's finally calming down. It very well could be. The way the data is coming in. Okay, I think it's fairly safe to say we've got a bit of a bull market going on right now. For those of you looking at those first eagle signals of the day, big payoff today. My goodness, what a move. Right out of the gate. It's still early though. We're only about 10 minutes in. Now we're seeing, again, a little bit more resistance on the highs. betcha if I go here to the Eagle, well, I've got to scroll back a long ways, but I bet if I drew a trend line, look at that. So we're into a little bit of a longer bullish trend line, or bearish trend line, I should say, and that's probably why the market is slowing a little bit at this point. There's might be a little bit of a pullback here somewhere, but right now it does seem to suggest we should be more bullish here than bearish. Okay, decent follow through on this late filter entry signal. Getting a lot of warning dots here now. As we approach the primary resistance line, that's that blue line just above the market. Oops, there's my soft edge sell. Do I have time to get my order placed? I do. Good. I got a chance at a second push entry here. And I'm going to extend my profit objective here a little bit. The profit target would be the hard edge of the trading band. Actually, what I'll do maybe is I'll try to run this one out if I get filled to the short side, and if the market doesn't look too much higher. So the number 2 signal, the counter trend signal, tends to work out best when the band is getting a little bit broad. Obviously, we need to have a trend before we can have a counter trend. We've had a little tiny retest of the extreme here. In this case, the extreme being the high of the bar. All right, here they come again. They're going to give us yet another number 2 signal after this little retest. You can see we're getting the warning now. All right, and I'm going to pull it way down here for now in case I need it. I'm going to roll my break-even trigger a little bit out of the way. I don't want it to react too early. My break-even now out where my initial profit objective was. And this is fairly ambitious on my part. I'm siding with the bears at this point. The sellers are trying here, but not a lot of participation from them so far. Hey, way to go, Mark. Mark says took that first micro macro cross at 6:41 your time. Picked up $450. I'm back in business. Well done. Let's take a quick look at that. First micro macro cross here on the hawk. That would be this one right here. Good job. Yeah, definitely enough for a scalp on that little move. Holding up on the hard edge, the first hard edge here of the Raptor. Remember, Raptor traders, whenever the market encounters the hard edge, we're going to anticipate some sort of reaction. Now, that doesn't always mean it's going to be a big reaction, but we are going to look for a reaction of some sort. This is close enough to qualify as a hard edge bounce. That would be our number 3 signal. Which is actually a continuation signal. All right, it did not complete, however. I really need to see the sellers confirm this countertrend signal, however. I really need to see them get below here at the 62.94 area. That will loosen things up a little bit. Yeah. Mark says he's currently in this Falcon trend change signal and taking heat. Counter trend trades, again, always difficult. The only good thing about a counter trend trade is you know precisely where to place your stops, namely above the recent highs. Come on. Oh, look at that. Just holding that 62.94 zone. That's going to be a number we're going to want to pay attention to. It'll be a little bit of a sticky spot today and probably tomorrow as well. Come on. Come on. It helps to talk to the market. Can't believe nobody's trying to get on the other side of 62.94. And nobody even dipped their toe in the water. Still, obviously, loads of support here, which is, in a way, it's good for my short position because all these buyers, where do you think their exit orders are? Yep, you got it. They're all sitting right down here. They're all parked right here. All these buyers. So if we can just see the market get on the other side of 62.94, we're going to start engaging a lot of these exit orders, and those exit orders are, of course, sell orders. I got another hard edge buy. I'm going to give them a couple of ticks here just above the high of the morning as I try to hang on to this trade. Ooh, not looking good right now. Looking for the sellers to come back. This would, if the sellers can knock it down here again, it's going to produce another number 2 signal. The number 2 signal that follows a number 3 signal usually has a little better follow through. But I think I'm going to be out of luck here. The buyers are just too strong for me right now. Darn tempting counter trend signals. Boink. Yeah, there they go. Ay, ay, ay. I knew better, but it didn't help. I even seem to remember saying something like I should wait for the with trend signal. Well, at least it was just a single contract, and at least I didn't lose more than I can afford, which is a very important concept. Excuse me. I had a little sneeze sneak up on me. Yeah, Mark says he got bid on that one too. Gave back half his profit on that one. And you know, the worst part is it looks like we may have been right shorting the market just a little bit early, perhaps. We've got a red bar buy signal here now on the hawk, and that tends to develop near the end of a trend. A red bar buy for you hawk traders, this is a signal that you can short. You can take it with trend, of course, but you can also set up counter trend, or you can simply use it as an early warning. Typically, there's only two red bar buy signals within a trend, so this would be the second one. This is the first one here. And it's suggestive that if it breaks down below here, the market could start to unwind, or you can simply use it as an early warning that perhaps a first micro macro cross signal is developing. And given the amount of volatility we have in the market this morning, this might be a tempting signal to try to run out a little bit if in fact the sellers are going to step up here. Another possible trend change on the Falcon. The Raptor's still full on bull market as we're producing yet another number 3 signal. The signals are starting to print a little bit more frequently, however, and that too sometimes suggesting a market could be slowing. But, oh, here I should wait for a second push on this one. The second push simply means we let the signal engage and then we see where it reacts. And usually that helps keep us on the right side of the market. And we'll cancel that. Oops, sorry, looked away here. Got a first micro macro cross to buy on the hawk. Oh, way to go. Mark says I'm in that one. Good job. That should have found your profit objective by now, and if you've got a runner in, looks like that's working out pretty well for you. That's a funny business, Mark says. And just like that, I'm back to my original profit. That's how it goes. We're back now to the 63.20 area. That was kind of a big number yesterday. If I go back here to yesterday's session, this whole zone, it looks like from around 63.20 to 63.30 was fairly influential. And that's sort of where we're finding ourselves right now. Okay, the hawk now back into yellow bars, as is the raptor. The raptor already back to the first hard edge, and the falcon starting to produce perhaps another trend change signal. So you can see, whereas we had a very strong move out of the open, you can see prices drifted a little bit sideways. Got another move, a little bit shorter. Got another move. We're getting a little bit more overlap. So the trend is still up. There's no question about that, but it is also slowing. And I think that's becoming a little bit more evident now also. The falcon already starting to work a trend change signal. We've got the warning dots. No signal yet, just the warning dots, but it's setting up for a possible trend change. if you're inclined to get in early on the shorts, you could do that right here. I'm fairly certain that this bar should produce the signal, although it is rare that we get 3 warning dots without a signal. So again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of the curve here. All right, so we did get the signal, and here too, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch my profit objective a little bit. This whole 6,300, 6302 zone, you can see very, very strong. The hawk now coming back with a first micro macro cross lower. We're probably going to see a little bit of a test of the extreme here. Another retest of the high, the raptor back into the hard edge. We need to see a little bit of a bounce here. That's what I meant about getting a little bit aggressive with that Falcon trade, hopping in a little bit early. But the way things have been unwinding here so fast, it's almost like you gotta jump in early. Pardon me. Okay, here's that retest that I was talking about. It's a little bit of a shallow retest of the high. It is a retest all the same. If we come back now with another sell signal, that will produce our counter trend signal, the number 2 signal. And there it is. So you could short that. And here too, probably extend my profit targets a little bit. Look for a little bit more of a move maybe. Now, the reason the number 2 signal here did not print is it did not meet the programming requirements exactly. But it is still a number 2 signal. This is why it's important that you learn to recognize the signals independent of the prompts as well. So we've the number 2 signal, the counter trend signal. We have a trend. Yep, check, got a trend. We have a retest of the trend, in this case the uptrend, a retest of the high, and then we come back with a sell signal. And it unfolded rather quickly, which is why I just punched into the trade with a sell order. And maybe I won't be too greedy here on the long side will look maybe, or pardon me, profit target. I'll set 62.80. And that would obviously be a huge move. The Falcon trade here has hit my break-even trigger. No, get away from there. Shoot. Well, that's what I get for trying to run out the trade. I had the profit. I should have just taken it, I suppose. Oh well. Still have the Raptor trade going on. And I'm trying to give this trade enough room that it gets a chance. I don't want to get tagged prematurely here. This is also going to work into a trend change signal, a cloud crossover signal, which is the #1 signal, if, of course, the sellers can manage to move the market a little bit lower here. So in typical Eric fashion, I'm trying to get a little bit ahead of the game. And sometimes you're better off waiting for the complete signal. You could treat this one actually as an early #1. It won't print as a #1 because the clouds are not fully crossed yet, but you can see the clouds are beginning to cross. We've got that characteristic little pullback, and now the market trying to resume that new trend to the short side. $6,300, $6,302, still a real problem spot. All right, sellers becoming a little bit more aggressive. We'll see if they break these current lows. We'll see right away how much follow through there is. It could be a rather quick move lower. If not, I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive with my stops, I think. those buyers. Now, the best stop placement is actually above the high of the day right there. If you can afford it, that's the place you want to be. Because that's the obvious place to say, yes, I was wrong about this trade. Time to pack up my toys and go home. When a market changes direction, you should anticipate a lot of volatility, a lot of big price swings. Because a market changing direction, especially a market that's been as bullish as this one has been this morning, it's kind of like trying to turn around an ocean liner. It needs a lot of room. And for those of you who don't live near an ocean, it's kind of like turning around an 18-wheeler, a big tractor trailer unit. It takes a lot of room too. Julian says a lot of buyers were coming in at 63.03, and I think you can see that a little bit of a follow through there from that. Yeah, Mark says it's like turning an 18-wheeler in a driveway. Mark says if you look back over the last month or so and draw a horizontal line at 6,300, that area has acted as support and resistance several times. Well, let's take a look at that. So here now, why don't we go to an hourly chart, and we'll shoot a line here at 6,300. Oops. And sure enough, here on the hourly chart, you can see, oops, we need a few more days. Yeah, 6,300, a very sensitive number for the market right now. So very strong reactions back here toward the end of November. The market blew through it early December, but did recover and hesitated again on the way down, and here we are on the way back up. And then back here around mid-November, we tagged it a few times, kind of hovered around that whole price region. So yes, looks like 6,300 definitely an influential number for as far as the NASDAQ is concerned. My objective right now is just trying to hold on long enough until the sellers actually get a chance to move this market. And it looks like this is going to be their last chance really to move the market lower. If they fail at this point, well then the rally will probably continue. Well, we're starting to flinch here again off of the hard edge. buyers just not letting go. The bears got their hands full trying to shake the buyers out. That's a real challenge here this morning. We're almost an hour in, and a lot of times if the market has had a defined trend up until now, which I think we can all agree it has, very often we will see a reversal about an hour in. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be a full-blown reversal, but at least maybe a little bit of a pullback. Come on. Absolutely. Here, Floyd says, can you take a look at crude oil? Just a moment while I load my crude oil chart. Okay, here's January crude. May even need to go to the alternate settings with crude oil. These are the default settings, but you can see by the daybreak lines. This day wasn't so bad, but yesterday extremely quiet. And today as well. Yeah, you're right, Floyd. There is nothing going on here in crude oil right now. Which is a shame, because that was always one market you could count on. Loads of volatility, loads of action trading crude oil. But not anymore. Crude oil, a little bit of a dud. Scott says, I took an eagle trade this morning with a 15-tick break even. It raced to the break even, moved back, and took me out. A 6-second trade and a $6 profit. Yes, I hate that too when you get that premature stop out, but it's nothing you can do about it when the volatility is up like that. So Scott asks, so keep the break even in the eagle or make it bigger? Well, the break even trigger is there to salvage a trade. If the market does not reach your profit objective, the idea of the break even is that you're at least flat on the position instead of taking a full out stop out. In other words, here in my trade, I've extended my break even a little bit to be just below these lows. My logic is, if the market breaks these lows and then bounces higher, I probably want to get out of the trade. The idea is, if they break these lows, there should be some bearish follow through. And if there isn't, well then go ahead, take me out at break even. Your Eagle trade this morning, you were just a victim of volatility. I'm not sure exactly where you got in. Let's say you got in around here somewhere. The market bounces up a little bit, hits your break-even trigger, comes down, stops you out, and then of course goes on without you. Or it was more likely this move here, where it goes up, it goes high enough to hit your break-even, comes down, tags you out, and then continues higher. What you could do is, if you're really confident about the market direction, you could X out your break even when it prints. You could increase the amount of money you're protecting once your break even hits. So let's say it hits at 15 ticks and you want to protect at least 10. You can do that as well. So instead of walking away with $6, at least you have $50. It's a tough call. Some people look at my trading and they disagree with the idea of using a break-even trigger. They say if you're going to take a trade, then you should give that trade every chance to work out. I've known traders who will not roll their stops until their trade is profitable. And we're not talking, $10, $30, $50 profit. We're talking $100, $200, $500 in profit. They will not roll their stops until they have that kind of profit. But if there's one thing that's true about trading, is that it's a very individual activity, right? You have to do what you're most comfortable with. I can tell you what I'm comfortable with, but that may or may not work for you. People all the time look at my stops and say, I can't run a stop like that. But the idea with running a wider stop is to avoid a premature stop out. And I forget who it was who wrote me just recently, but they said that their trading improved considerably by running a slightly wider stop. Initially they had whatever, like a 10-tick stop or something. And they kept getting stopped out. There's been a few people who have written with the same kind of response. So, you gotta learn it for yourself on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have to do what you're comfortable with, because honestly, at the end of the day, it's your money. And nobody can tell you what you should be doing with your money. Yeah, and Mark makes a good comment here too. Mark says, I always try to find the positive, and in this case, at least there was no loss. It's a win, albeit a tiny one. Yeah, break even is a win. Well, we're not getting much in the way of a pullback here, which is starting to concern me a little. But we are flattening out quite a bit, which is usually what happens before a reversal or a possible reversal. Mark writes, I've heard other traders say and have learned myself it to be true that the market's like those big round numbers, referring to 6,300. They are always significant turning points, so when you're around them for long periods of time, you can expect directional changes and try to plan accordingly. And that is true, especially whole numbers like 6,000, 6,100, 6,200, 6,300. And to a lesser extent, the 50s. So 6,100, 6,150, 6,200, 6,250. And then from there, to a lesser extent still, the quarter points and even the tens. But when you start trying to trade the tens, you just get too many numbers. It becomes far too difficult. Well, the buyer's coming back with yet another hard edge bounce, and I'm afraid they may cash me on the wrong side of this trade yet again. Yeah, I agree here with Julian's comment. Julian writes, confusing lower highs, and yet the big buyers keep coming in. Should be a push, I'm thinking. I think you could be right, Julian. Just the fact that we haven't seen a clean break of 6,300 is a little bit of a concern. The market rallies up every time it gets back down there. No, not getting any love here from the NASDAQ this morning. Elmer says the hawk is stuck in a regression channel and for the last half hour, and that is certainly the case. You can see the lot of activity here, a lot of changes. When you see your bar colors keep changing like this, when your filter keeps breaking up, it should be fairly evident that you are in a sideways trading range. Oh, brother. Back down here to, or we got a little bit closer to 6,300, a little bit of an early bounce. Come on. You know, if we get below 6,300, 6,302, it is very reasonable to assume a pullback to the median line. That is a distinct possibility. But first things first. First, we got to get through 6,300. And it is a struggle, to be sure. Not liking it at all. Julian says buying coming in at 63.09, and that's here coincides with the cloud crossover signal, that number one signal. Normally what happens when a market has made a big rally up is that there's usually a pause in the action, and the pause normally has, in the case of an ascending market, a bear flag shape to it, and very often it will retrace about halfways of the earlier rally. I guess that would be somewhere around there. And then from here, you can anticipate that the market's going to try to resume its rally. That's not because it has anything to do with Fibonacci retracements or anything like that. Rather, it's just what markets do. It's just the nature of the market. So after this rally up, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a possible retrace back to somewhere around halfways of this earlier run up. But so far, they're not giving it to me. So far, they're holding tough, and they keep threatening to rally from where they are. So that was the plan, but yeah, not a lot of follow through right now. With a little bit of luck, this may turn out to be like a distribution phase. After this rally, market now going sideways, which again you should anticipate. All rally markets end up going sideways, and all sideways markets eventually rally. Not holding out a lot of hope for the trade, by the way. I do believe I'm stuck on the wrong side of this. Julian says, I've got the volume point of control at 63.23. That's what I'm shooting for. All right, well, that's up there a little bit. Definite possibility. Well, all that early momentum seems to have gone by the wayside, and now we are stuck in a rather sideways market. stay with it here for a little while, but it's looking like they're pretty much happy just to keep drifting sideways for now. And it looks like, will the highs hold? Well, we definitely have a trading zone. I don't think there's any question about that. We get near the highs, there's selling. We get near the lows, there's buying. That's pretty much characteristic of a trading zone. And until we get a breakout from that, it's going to continue to be a little bit of a sideways mess. Yeah, I think you're right, Scott. I think it's time to call it a morning. Obviously, I'm going to try to continue to nurse this trade at least to a break-even situation. If I do luck out and we see a breakdown here below 6,300, I am going to try to get it as close to the median line as I can manage. Otherwise, yeah, it's just a matter of trying to hold on long enough. All right, gang. Yeah, we'll do it all again tomorrow. Be careful out there. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.